I know the scanner isn't working.
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's a Wednesday. And again, we never run out of things to talk about.
No, well, you know, I received phone calls last night and this morning. People who are finally opening their tax bills and they're deciding what they're going to do with it, for the lack of a better expression. But they had a small problem, just a small one. And that problem is they go to Boston. They don't mail their payments to Fall River anymore. So, of course, first thing this morning, I got on the phone and I spoke with the collector's office. And the collector is away till next week.
He's even away when he's here.
So I made a phone call over to the treasurer's office and they didn't have any time. So I sent emails to both the collector and the treasurer asking for why we're now sending our bills for collection to Boston. And I didn't expect a response right away, but one of our minions, our followers, the people who don't watch our show, immediately called because they found out I was calling. And they said, look, we use a lockbox system. We've used it for a couple of years. I said, really? They said, yeah, we contract out that service and we had to change the address. It's got to go to Boston now because that's where the company's located. I said, how much are we paying them? Oh, I don't know that. You'd have to ask the treasurer or the law department for a copy of the contract. I said, okay, I think I'm going to have to do that. So I sent the email asking for that contract.
Well,
but you know what? I asked, why do we have to send them out to Boston? Why can't we just send them to Fall River? And they said, oh, it was too much work. We get so much mail that we can't process it all. I said, really? I said, so what happens if I put my check for my taxes in an envelope and mail it to City Collector, 1 Government Center, Fall River, 02722? Oh, well, we'll process it. I said, oh, so basically we're going to pay twice. Well, I don't know what you mean. I said, well, because if you're processing it, you're getting paid to process it. And this company in Boston's processing it, and they're getting paid to process it. I said, so we pay twice.
and why
Oh, no.
and why wasn't this brought to the public's attention?
Well, that's my question.
Again, here we are with government getting more expensive and larger and doing less. Everybody wants more help. Simpering Sam, when he left, said he didn't have enough help. And we covered this on the last show. And here again, we have an entire, we've collected taxes in this city for a very, very long time. And I don't think this city has actually gotten smaller. There was a time when this city had 100,000 people in it. Yet we managed to collect taxes without contracting it out. And by the way, how much does this cost? And who's going to lose their job because they've got nothing to do?
Nobody loses their job.
Nobody loses. That's exactly right. What we need is a few more administrators.
That's right.
And then we can send, let's subcontract. It's just like our law department. They hire a part-time guy, pay him full-time, and then anytime there's any major work, they contract it out.
But you know, Chip, you and I have been to the collector's office how many times a year? And is there ever a short line when you go? Because I know when I go, there's never a short line.
I think I was complaining about that the other Tuesday.
Exactly.
It's like,
so we're going to farm it out. Now, the lockbox system is used across the Commonwealth by many cities and towns. And even recently, it was used in Freetown, and it was instituted by Diane Lawless, the former treasurer for Freetown. And they fired her for it. They fired her for it. Now, I don't know if the firing is valid or not, but they still fired her for it. Now, my question is, what act or ordinance or legislation allowed this? Was the city council at the time notified? Who initiated the contract? And what is the fee? How much are we paying? How much of our tax dollars, which we so desperately need, are going to some private company to take the checks and run them through the scanner?
I want to see the line item in the budget when we began this, and I want to see why, and I want to ask why there wasn't a discussion, and why wasn't this brought to the public's attention? And that's what they do. Well, we all know, this is the political BS. They put this giant law, and everything that comes out, especially on a federal level, the laws are about, 3 feet thick. There's 17,000 pages, and somewhere along the line, they stick in a little caveat at the end.
Right.
And that's what they do all the time. And this is what they do in Fall River. We can't have enough clerks to make the line go quicker. And they work. And I said that the other day. They were working. They were working nonstop. They had no choice. And the thing is that, well, why don't we hire Indians and not chiefs? But we again see we need more help. We need more administrators. No, we don't. As I said, this is a no-frill city. It's a blue-collar city. But we have 2 cities. And that's going to segue into my other, the tale of 2 cities, because we talked about the delusionary aspects of our city council and our mayors with the things they say about it. And we have more, because there was an article in the Herald News about wish lists for the Fall River foodies for steakhouses and Italian restaurants. Well, we've had steakhouses, we've had Italian restaurants, and they don't survive because nobody can go to, they don't have enough customers. This city is poor. And then, I don't know, I'm not too enthusiastic over these critics. One person said, I would like to see Italian restaurants offering meals like Lorenzo's and Marchetti's and the Pasta House. Well, I've been to all of those. They're not bad, but they're not really what you would call an authentic Italian restaurant. I mean, you go to Federal Hill, which is only 15 minutes away. It's actually better than the Italian North End in Boston. They have, Camille's, the old canteen, Casarino's, Pastiche, and this is what they want in Fall River. We want an authentic steakhouse. How many people, like I said, we have a break. I don't know whether you've been eating too many of those organic brownies, but I'll tell you what, I don't know how you think you can keep one of these places in business. Have you people actually been to a prime steakhouse? You're looking at a $200 a person minimum charge if you have a drink. It's $55 to $75 for the steak. That's it, on the plate, just the steak. The sides are separate. Everything's a la carte in prime steakhouses. You pay for the potatoes, you pay for the vegetable. The only thing you don't pay for is the bread. And I've been to prime steakhouses all over the country, from Palm Springs, California, to Florida, to the #1 steakhouse in the world in New York City. And, the fact is that, and we had a really top quality steakhouse. They said it's changed hands. I haven't been up in a while, but Abe and Louie's in Boston was one of the premier steakhouses in the country. But, Peter Luger's in New York.
You're making me hungry.
is considered the best steakhouse in the world. I would love to have a prime steakhouse in this city too, but this is the problem. We've got to be realistic. It's a wish list, and keep wishing, because you're 5 generations from now, unless we change the economic structure of this city, we are never going to be able to support it. We've had them before. They didn't last. We had a steakhouse on Troy Street. We had a few steakhouses. We had a few high-end restaurants that opened. They don't last.
No.
Because they can't survive on 12 customers a month.
And you know, the idea of a prime steakhouse for the majority of people in Fall River, as was related by that article, is Longhorn, Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. For the amount of money you're paying at the Longhorn or the Texas Roadhouse or even the Outback, you're getting a passable steak. Okay? It's not a prime steak, but it's a steak. You know, I could do better, and I have this week. I've been eating steak almost every day this week. I don't know why. I guess because I got it so cheap. But it's just, it's amazing at what you look at. And, you know, this is the pie in the sky wish list that our politicians, before they took office, was giving us. And as a matter of fact, you know, I started reviewing a lot of the campaign finance reports for a lot of our incumbents now. And on the 15th of December, our mayor's campaign account was short. It was in the red for $85 and change. He raised $65,000 in 15 days. And he spent $24,000. Now, that's not unheard of for political candidates, Chip. We've seen them raise more.
Yeah.
We've seen them raise more. The problem is that there's no reporting. I couldn't see any reporting anywhere. And I'm like, what's going on? The only reporting I saw was from the bank, because the banks have to report every 15 days to the state. And I'm looking at it, and there was a check written on December 30th for $500 to Cardi's Furniture. I'm wondering if it's for that new desk that I saw in the picture in the Herald News that looked like it was a marble top desk. You know?
Well, you got to look the part, you know.
Yeah,
That's
it's
their
all about
attitude.
appearances. It's all about appearances.
It doesn't matter whether you're effective or not.
Right.
That's like that old commercial they used to have.
And I say
Do
this.
you want to be an athlete? But if you can't be an athlete, at least look like one.
And you know, I bring this up because as I'm reading through the paper, and I don't normally read through the paper, by the way, until something's brought to my attention, Munroe-Dion came out with an amazing column, what he would do as mayor. And it sounded like one of our shows. And, you know, you have to say to yourself, can everyone be wrong? If Munroe-Dion is coming out, and I mean, we're told we're negative, but you know what? Mark has also been told by many people he's negative. But he says very clearly in here, his job isn't to put on an excellent gala. His job isn't to buy this, to buy that. His job, as a matter of fact, he would be sworn in at his desk in Government Center, not with the big inaugural event. Let the others do it. Those are part-time jobs. The mayor's a full-time job. And, you know, Mark and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But I'll tell you, I've got to give him big props on this column. And if people have the opportunity to read it, please do, because I'll tell you something. It's absolutely true. And maybe our new mayor should have read this column before he planned all this stuff out. Because all of this stuff, the big gala, the inauguration ceremony, all of that, you know what? All of that is hoopla. It's all look at me, look at me, look at me. And you know what? I don't need to look at you. I need to look at what you're doing. I need to see how you're acting. I need to see what you're accomplishing. Okay? And so far, all I've seen for an accomplishment is a gala, which I don't consider an accomplishment, a inauguration ceremony with the lieutenant governor down here, and a new desk. And the fact that you were locked out of the office at 8:45 in the morning. But, you know, and I'm not trying to be negative on this, and I'm not trying to blast him, but, you know, what you do is what is the reality to people. Appearances, as we've said numerous times, appearances are the reality. So all the old ladies that follow these politicians around, and I'm not trying to besmirch them because of their age, you know, they're looking for something to do, and they're accepted by the politicians, and they give them little jobs to do, and that's wonderful. I think it's great they're staying active. But you know what? You can hold him accountable too. Don't just expect us to do it. Because remember something, you got your tax bill if you own property, and it was $200+ higher because of the actions of the previous city council, the previous mayor, and remember, this mayor was on the previous city council. So hold people's feet to the fire. And I'm going to quote Mayor Correa. I expect the people to hold my feet to the fire. Well, guess what? That was a statement we didn't need, because that we are definitely going to do.
Well, you know, you're right. And Mark's article is spot on, but it's things we've been saying for a long time. And what this does really is highlight, you know, these people are looking at why Fall River has changed mayors 3 times in barely over a year, why the council saw a drastic change. And I hope now you're beginning to realize it's because the people in Fall River have begun to wake up and look at the forest, not the tree. The propaganda's not working anymore. Your wish lists for steakhouses have to be ripped up, thrown in a barrel, and replaced with a demand list. The demands of the people of Fall River. And I'll read you a quote from Mr. Dion's article. Quote, I won't spend a nickel of your money without a fight in the coming weeks. I'm going to meet with every department head and go over every budget dollar by dollar, and I promise you I will cut something out of every one of those budgets. Does that sound familiar? Haven't we said that? Haven't we talked about they want more help, but they have 6-figure department heads? Then he talks about the people that he knows who live in 3 deckers and don't have money. The people who live in the poorest city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's the people he knows. And that's the people we know. And we're not talking about people who are welfare people, who have done nothing and get everything for free. We're talking about people, as he said, who are working minimum wage jobs, 2 jobs, or in my case, a lot of retirees on fixed incomes who just can't afford it anymore. There has to be a change in the way Fall River does business. We have to realize what this city is and forget about wishing, getting your head out of your derriere and looking at the reality of Fall River. And as I said on numerous shows, the people of this city demand smaller government, cuts, no duplications, no, you want to contract out the real estate tax bills? Get rid of some people. You want to pay somebody to work? Give them a job. Let them do their work. If they can't do the job and we're going to give it to somebody else, we shouldn't be paying them and then paying somebody to subcontract out. If our law department can't do its job, eliminate the law department or keep 1 lawyer on, part-time. If you're going to contract everything out, get rid of them.
Well, you know, you're right, Chip. And the thing is that whenever they want to cut, and as you and I have said numerous times as well, they don't cut in management. They cut in the people who provide the services. Now, we barely have enough people to operate the collector's office. Or at least that's what it seems like to us, because when we show up, there's a line out the door. I've gone there to file death certificates, marriage licenses and whatnot at the city clerk's office, and the line has gone out of the collector's office, across the hall, into the city clerk's office, and then down and around, almost coming out at the other end of the building, because there's like one person there processing payments. And, well, that's not my job. You have somebody sitting at a desk over here on a phone. You have the collector behind a door somewhere. You know, when I was a manager in numerous businesses, whether it was healthcare or retail or wherever it was, when I had lines of any type, I jumped in. I did the work. When I had nurses that were overwhelmed and they couldn't keep up with everything, I jumped in. I did the work. Our managers don't do that. Our managers sit there and go, oh, no, I'm the manager. I don't do that. I just got to look over these reports that the computer generated, so I can't change them anyhow, so it doesn't matter. And you know, we went through a whole process where you couldn't even pay your tax bills in December because, oh, the Munis system is down. It's going to be down for the next couple of days. I've never seen such incompetence.
Well, I mean, we look at every department. I mean, when I got on the fire department, as I said numerous times, there were 300 men. 295, 300, then it got down to 255 when they made the choice to pay overtime rather than pay health care, but it was always better than 250 for the most part. And most of the time, when I first got on, it was around 300, as was the police department. And most of those people were firefighters on the trucks. And you look at today, we have, 175 people on the job rather than 300? And 67 of those people are officers. So you figure out how much management we had. We had approximately the same amount of supervisors when we had 300 men. So is there something wrong with this picture? What happened? They laid off firefighters.
Of course.
But they don't ever lay off administrators in any department. And I'll be perfectly frank. When we faced layoffs, we had the demotions in ready to go by seniority and rank. I actually changed the way it was computed to make sure that the last one hired was the first one demoted. So, but the fact is, this is what we have. We have one clerk, one poor clerk with a line, and that was the line on when I went to pay my water bill. It was around the building, and and when I got there, I got lucky, and it was only halfway around the building. So and then we got a couple of extra people, and I asked the question on the last show: why do we only have one clerk? How many supervisors do we have? How many people do we have? We continue to cut services because this is what we want. Because they want the people to go, hey, I'm sick and tired of this crap. I'll pay more taxes. Give me another clerk. Well, you got 4 people walking around a mayor's office doing nothing, being chief of staff and special assistant and call taker and schedule maker and PR person and one clerk. Well, no, we're tired of it. No more. I'm not going to give you a dime of my taxes. I'll vote your ass all out. You raise my taxes without cutting government, you're gone, because we're sick and tired of it. That con's not going to work. Every single time this city gets in trouble, you lay off fire and police and say you're going to burn to death or crime's going to run rampant in the street and everybody runs scared. Well, you know something? Somebody better wake up. And we have our new committee assignments.
Oh, please.
And we will really cover that on Friday. But I'll tell you what. Let's see what happens, but let's set the record straight. They don't watch our show, but they always know what we say. So what we're telling you is, not only us, Mark Munroe-Dion basically, he basically stated in his own words everything that we've said, which means that he's looking at this city through the same realistic perspective that the rest of the people are beginning to look. You're not going to con us by trying to get us to focus on the tree. We're going to look at the big picture. And the big picture is these new committees, you better toe the mark and you better remember what we're looking at, because if you keep spending money like a drunken sailor, you're going to be gone.
I think the more important thing about these committees is this. Number one, this was released yesterday. As soon as it was released, I did publish it. But there hasn't been a city council meeting. So these people met at some point, somewhere, and agreed to these. This is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. Now, we already know that they had meetings prior to taking office, because God knows transparency in government is not beneficial to Fall River, or at least not to the elected officials. But let's look real quickly at this. Finance is always the same people. It's everybody. Economic Development and Tourism, Steve Long, Cabaceres, Steve Camara. Health and Environmental Affairs, Steve Camara, Joe Camara, Ray Mitchell. Human Services, Housing and Elder Affairs, Joe Camara, Long, and Cliff Ponte. Ordinance and Legislation, Cliff Ponte, Joe Camara, Pam La Liberté LeBeau, Steve Long, Linda Pereira. Public Safety, this is the one I love. This to the people of Fall River is one of the most important committees going. And what do we put on there? Pam La Liberté LeBeau as chairperson. Richard Cabaceres, Mr. I know everything about the fire department. And Cliff Ponte. 3 freshman city councilors. No experience whatsoever in public safety, except for Cabaceres, which I'm not even going to get into what's been reported to me. And Cliff Ponte, who's a real estate guy. So, you know, we really have to look at these carefully. Then you have Public Works and Transportation. Ray Mitchell, Steve Camara, again, Pam La Liberté LeBeau. Real estate, Richard Cabaceres is chair, Pam La Liberté LeBeau, Steve Long, Ray Mitchell, Linda Pereira. And regulations, Linda Pereira, Joe Camara, Steve Camara. This is like, when was this decision made? And then we get into the liaisons. Did anyone even know we had liaisons? I mean, for arts and entertainment, Steve Camara and Long. Now, that's interesting because I don't know if that would come under economic development and tourism or whatever, but Council on Aging, Richard Cabaceres, Steve Camara. Steve Camara can see, Richard Cabaceres, I guess he just has the face, you know? So cute. School Committee, Linda Pereira, Cliff Ponte. Senior Senate, what is that?
It's a Senate made up of seniors.
I guess so. Steve Long, Ray Mitchell. Veterans, Pam La Liberté LeBeau and Ray Mitchell. Ray Mitchell, I can understand, he's a veteran, but Pam? Come on. Library, Joe Camara, Pam La Liberté LeBeau. Neighborhoods, Richard Cabaceres and Cliff Ponte. Cliff Ponte, I could understand. He is a real estate person. He kind of understands the neighborhoods. Now, if you start counting up the number of Pam La Liberté LeBeaus, what is she being primed for? Or how did she get all those positions? It's just so questionable. It's unbelievable. And I'm quite sure that Miss LeBeau will call saying this was unfair because everything we ever report on, it's always unfair. So guess what? Don't care, because now you're in a different position, Miss LeBeau. Now you're an elected official. And now everything you do is subject to scrutiny by not only us, but by every person in this city, every reporter, and everything.
Well, let me say, we're going to give them all the opportunity to do their job.
Oh, yes, of course.
But obviously, you have to realize that there has to be some change. And I'm going to probably write a letter to the Attorney General about the Ethics Commission, the most useless commission in the state of Massachusetts that never makes any kind of ruling. They ruled that they could have meetings before they were sworn in and before they were actually, even though they were elected. And apparently, the open meeting law cannot be violated, but they had to have meetings. I have never in my life ever seen every one of these committees preset within 24 hours after the president was elected. So obviously, they had a meeting, probably in violation. If they had that meeting today, now that they're sworn in, it would be a violation of the open meeting law. And my question to the Ethics Commission is, why don't you hold that to the same standard for people who are going to take office? Because this obviously had been predetermined. The meetings had been taken. And what you've basically said is you have carte blanche. You can have as many meetings as you want with as many people as you want. You can get everybody together. Things you can't do when you become an elected official. So why can't that criteria be applied? So
Because
stay
it's
angry.
Not fair.
Stay angry and pay attention, because I guess now the accountability has begun.
I guess so. Hey, have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on Friday. Stay angry and keep those tips coming. Thank you.